Before I start with this video, just a reminder, the yellow star and the yellow bag that I am wearing is in honor of all the Jews who suffered at the hands of Christians from Constantine to Adolf Hitler. And may they rise up from the dead and condemn these heinous perpetrators of evil, the sons of Cain. So today, once again, on the subject of Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital and the command to move the embassy, United States embassy, the Sukkot, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, where it rightfully belongs. Now, I have heavily criticized past presidents and even the current one for cowardice. What I said was the signing of the waiver to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was cowardice. I also pointed out in Scripture how cowards are going to be dealt with. Revelation 21 and verse 8 in the New International Version. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral or whoremonger, those who practice magic arts, idolaters, and all liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake, which is the second death. Now, what is a coward? Definition of coward. Let's see here. It says faint-hearted, lily-livered, spineless, chicken-hearted, craven, timid, timorous, fearful, in a way that shows a lack of courage. Okay? Now, so every time I mention coward, for the presidents from 1995 until now, are all correct, but now with the exception of one. Since he chose to reject cowardice this time, he accepted cowardice the first time, the first 6 months of the waiver, the Jerusalem waiver thing. But he refused to sign the Jerusalem waiver this time. He has now decided to reject the way of cowardice. So, I'm retracting my statement against President Donald Trump when I called him a coward the first time. I retract that. Not because I was wrong, but because he decided to choose a different path. He decided to choose the path of courage and reject the path of cowardice. And there was a article on one of the Jewish publications. I'm not there right now, so I will try to ad-lib it here, where the secretary, was it? The ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, commented on certain Israelis' concern that the United States might want payback in return for what Donald Trump did. Well, she made a statement today to assure Israel that this is not about Israel per se. This is about the United States getting it right. This is about self-correction. You see. So, what she is saying is the United States is not desiring anything in return from Israel for this favor. This is contrary to what some State Department officials are saying, that it was somehow a gift from Donald Trump. This is not a gift. You see, it is owed to Israel. That which is owed to Israel is not a gift. You see? And so Nikki Haley corrected the record, saying this was about self-correction. Now, so I say now that Donald Trump is among the courageous. There was a man back in the 1930s who died in the 1950s who was a coward. They call him Pope Pius XII. But in fact, he was nothing more than a pansy. I'm going to read through some of I will first of all explain what happened with him and the fascists. You see, the man at the Vatican for a long time in Italy was so hated that he had no power. He was exiled. And the one who first exiled the man at the Vatican was Napoleon. And so when the agnostic, I guess you would say, when the unbeliever Mussolini came to power, he decided that he could get more power if he put the man at the Vatican back and give him his power back. So he did. And this was also at the behest of Adolf Hitler. They both together gave Pius XII his power back. So here in Wikipedia, the start of the pontificate of Pius XII occurred at the time of the Second World War and the Nazi Holocaust, which saw the industrialized mass murder of millions of Jews and others by Adolf Hitler's Germany. Pius employed diplomacy he did, not according to the things that I've read, to aid victims of the Nazis during the war, and through directing his church to provide discreet aid to Jews. Listen, this man could have made a difference. He didn't. They're claiming he saved hundreds of thousands of lives, but it's not true. His strongest public condemnation of genocide was, however, considered inadequate by the Allied powers, and rightly so. Because of cowardice, he didn't do more. Because you see, the ones who put him into power were the ones who committed these atrocities. Pius XII had served as a Vatican diplomat in Germany prior to the war and as Vatican Secretary of State under Pius XI. And again, they claimed that he was a critic of the Nazis. Okay, so what is my point here? I'm going back to the article that I talked about in just a recent video, where Francis, the current guy at the Vatican, cowardly tells Donald Trump that the status quo should remain. And I mentioned that the status quo was the jihadists being able to murder the Jews at will, the innocent at will. In other words, Cain and Abel should be allowed to live together. This is the status quo that the cowardly man at the Vatican desires. So what we have here is a continuation of the cowardly actions of these pontiffs concerning the Jews. You see, there was another man by the name of, what is his name? Albert Goring. Albert Goring was the brother of the second in command among the Nazis. Now, Albert Goring, time after time, drove trucks to concentration camps himself. Not hiding in a palace somewhere and getting other people to do his bidding. No, Albert Goring drove the trucks himself, loaded up hundreds of Jews in the trucks, and using the fact that he was a brother to the second in command in Nazi Germany to free these people, as many as he could. Now that's courage. Cowardice is the path of the men at the Vatican. That's cowardice. Courage is what Donald Trump did. Because you see, President Donald Trump knows. He knows what the enemies of Israel are going to do now. He knows. He knows about the backlash that's coming. But as Nikki Haley said, this is about doing the right thing. Courage is about doing the right thing. I hope I can find that article. Okay, which one should I use? I'll try the Fox News Insider. Let's see what says. Okay, Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley said President Trump exhibited courage in declaring Jerusalem as the American-recognized capital of Israel. Haley said that the move was symbolic as the seat of Israeli government is already in the city. It's a big day, she said. Trump listened to the will of the American people He made a symbolic move that we are committed to the peace process. Yes, recognizing Israel, or Jerusalem as Israel's capital, is one step forward in the peace process. And the way you bring peace is to deport those who do not want peace. That is the peace process, you see. I will continue with what Nikki Haley said. Haley said that since 1995, when Congress passed a resolution calling for the embassy to be moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, past presidents have announced plans to do so, but haven't taken the extra step. We are going to do what the American people have asked us to do, she said. So she is giving credit to the American people. Now, Haley said that while dignitaries from the Pope to America's closest ally, Britain, have panned the move. And her response is, courage doesn't come by doing what everybody else says. She said the move is another example of Trump following through on his campaign promises. She's right. If you make a promise, you keep that promise. And when you make a promise concerning Israel, you had better double your effort to keep a promise. And here's why. Because you made a promise to our Father in heaven, Jehovah, the Holy One, the Elohim of Israel. And when you break that promise, you haven't broken the promise to the American people, no. You haven't broken the promise to Israel, no. You've broken the promise to the Creator of heaven and earth. And that would be extremely unwise. So I have a message for Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and I know you probably won't see it, but then again, who knows? President Donald Trump, you must understand now that if you thought you were a target before you did this, what they're going to try to do to you now is going to be more significant. They're going to redouble their efforts against you now. Because these people who hate Israel, they're just not haters of Israel. They are servants of darkness. They are servants of the serpent. And now they really hate you. But the American people now, you are also now in the crosshairs. Whether you know it or not. All eyes are on you and against you now. American people, because you insisted that the President of the United States do the right thing by Jerusalem and by Israel, because you insisted. You are a target now. You are a target of the adversary, Israel's adversaries. There's going to be a war coming very soon. And I now believe, because of the decision that was made, the war is going to be the world against Israel and the United States. And President Donald Trump, you're going to have to continue to show courage. It will be necessary for you to survive. You may not have known what you meant by the calm before the storm. We should all know what the storm is going to be about now. Because I don't think there's going to be any calm anymore until the smoke is cleared and the dust is settled. from what's about to begin. So now I also mentioned that I would talk to people about how to prepare yourself for 3.5 years of no rain. Well, there's a few things you can do. One of the first things you need to do, the cheapest things on the market today as far as food is concerned, is pinto beans, 70-something cents a pound. And rice is extremely cheap. You can get rice by the 50-pound bags full at Sam's Wholesale. And you can get 25-pound bags of pinto beans at Sam's Wholesale for, I don't know, $13, $15, something like that. Now, you can store them in a vacuum if you want, or the rice especially, bay leaves. And if you go on, as I recall, I was able to get several pounds of bay leaves on eBay for relatively cheap. You go try to get bay leaves from the store, they're terribly expensive. Let me see if I can find it. I just want the bay leaves are important for rice because you don't want to put mixed diatomaceous earth with rice because you can, but it's hard to clean. And you can mix diatomaceous earth with beans, and it's easy to clean with water. So let me see if I can find the bulk bay leaves. Let's see. You can get a half a pound of bay leaves for $15. And a half a pound is a lot of bay leaves. A lot. It will take care of bucket after bucket after bucket of rice. And I have put some in rice like 3 years ago. And I've opened it up recently. And no weevils. None. So it does work. And like I said, plenty of bay leaves on eBay. Now, water. You can get charcoal filters, water purifiers, all kinds of different ones. But then there's also little tablets. Or you can get it in powder. Potable aqua water treatment, 50 tablets. What is one tablet supposed to do? But you can get this in much larger portions. Ready in 35 minutes. You can get them in iodine or different chemicals that will make water bacteriologically suitable drink. And in this particular description here, one bottle of 50 tablets will treat 25 quarts of water. That's not very good. But there's all kinds of ways. There's let's see, ceramic filters. I have several of these. The Dolton W9 121 750 10-inch Super Sterisil ceramic candle filter cartridge. They're like $23 a piece right now, and they will filter about a quart per hour. So if you wanted to put one of these in a 5-gallon bucket, it would probably be more advisable to install about 4 of them in one 5-gallon bucket, and then a tap. In another bucket down below it. And you can use your wisdom to figure out how to use these candles to these filters to do. And when they need to be clean, all you have to do is just wash the outside of them, and they'll, as long as you clean them every now and then, they'll last almost forever. A good way. That's a very, very good way to filter your water, and it filters out. It'll even filter out chlorine. It will filter out everything. So that's just a few things, folks. And let's say a pound of beans, depending on what kind of dry beans you have, usually around 1,000 calories if you're used to counting calories. And I think 1 cup of rice has about, 1 cup of dry rice has about 600 or so calories. So you can use those measurements to figure out how many buckets of a particular item that you need. And look, don't be surprised that you might have to live on beans and rice. In a lot of these Arab countries where people are poor, that's what they eat. They eat garbanzo beans and rice. And folks, you have to understand that this kind of life, this decadent lifestyle that the Europeans and the Americans live right now, is not going to last forever. 3.5 years of no rain is coming, and it's coming at the mouth of 2 witnesses. Why in the world, knowing that this is going to happen, would you not be prepared? It'd be foolish. It wouldn't be the 2 witnesses' fault. It would be yours and my fault. So purchase these things while you have the opportunity to do so. Because food is extremely cheap. Dry food is extremely cheap. You can go to Home Depot and get all the 5-gallon buckets you want with lids, sealable lids, the whole 9 yards. Diatomaceous earth for your beans and bay leaves for your rice. You can get diatomaceous earth, food grade, at Tractor Supply and other places. Or you can go online and get them. I talk to people almost every day asking them, do they have their 3.5 year supply? Well, I have all the other items. Well, you can't eat money. You can't eat gold or silver. And so, what will you do when there is no food? Come to my house? What am I going to tell you? Well, I only have enough for myself. So, I'm going to preempt that by telling you to do what you should be doing, preparing, because that time's coming. And the time is coming quickly now, because now Jerusalem has been reappointed, reanointed, recognized as Israel's capital once again. And you know the folly that will come from the nations as a result. Prepare yourselves.